My name is Gail Jackson. I am the Tart Lady. I'm a native of St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm a home baker, and I'm a cultural bearer of all things Virgin Islands. Growing up on the island of St. John was a beautiful thing, and I grew up in an area called Contant, and I was surrounded by many great cooks and bakers who are also members of my family. My first memory of cooking and baking was when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mom, she bought me an Easy Bake oven. It was a toy oven that actually baked cakes under the heat of a light bulb. And I remember I used to make chocolate cakes with this oven. But throughout the years, I was always surrounded by great cooks and great food. My family always would have family celebrations where we would have lots of authentic Virgin Islands food. And I would always ask my aunts and my older cousins for their recipes so that I could try to replicate their special dishes. So at a very young age, I was interested in the culinary arts and also business. Well, first of all, my mom, she was a good cook. And that is exactly what I did throughout my teenage years. I cooked, and under the tutelage of not only my mom, but also I used to learn from my family members who were great cooks as well. But fast forward, beyond high school, I took a different path. I went to college. I got a degree in business administration, and I even went further, and I went to graduate school and got a master's in public administration. But when I returned back home, I continued my career in the healthcare field. And I worked in that field, and I enjoyed working in that field, but I always wanted to do something in food and business. So at the time, St. John did not have any Fracos. I said, you know what? That would be a good business for St. John. So under the mentorship of Rudolph Farrell, who is the best Fraco man at St. Thomas, he mentored me and helped me to start my first business, which was the Fraco business. Eventually, I actually decided to relocate to Atlanta. But before I left the Virgin Islands, I knew there was one thing that I had to do, and that was to learn how to make tarts. And that was important for me because for my family, tarts is a very important part of our life. We have always had tarts whenever we had family celebrations. And we didn't have just any tarts. We had tarts made by our beautiful cousin, Erla Christopher. And if it wasn't Erla's tarts, we didn't want them. I think she's the master of tarts, to be honest with you. So I called her and I said, Erla, I want to learn how to make tarts. At the time, Erla was getting older, and she could no longer meet the demands of not just our family, but also the St. John community. And I said, I really want to learn how to make them. And she said she would teach me. She was so happy to share. But she said, you have to come because I don't measure. Like many great cooks, they don't measure. They just do it. So one afternoon, I went by Erla's house and she taught me. And it was just one time, but I knew that I had what I needed to continue on. And this was just to have tarts. I didn't want to not know how to make them because I knew eventually she would not make them anymore. So when I relocated to Atlanta, I just continued practicing, and I would bake tarts almost every weekend. And I know they would not be Erla's tarts, but I knew that I had to get them good enough that it would pass my family's test, and especially my greatest critic, which is my brother Gary. So eventually I got it, and I was able to make tarts the way that I know would be pleasing to my elders. And one day I posted it on Facebook. I posted pictures of my coconut tarts, and the response was overwhelming. People were inboxing me, posting, are you selling those? How can I get those tarts? And I was like, no, I'm not selling those. But my brother, who's also on Facebook, said, Gail, you could be the Tart Lady of Atlanta. And I said, that's a great business idea. I said, but I could not only be the Tart Lady of Atlanta, I could be the Tart Lady of the United States. At this time and at this juncture in my life, I was able to do what I know would make me or fulfill me. And that would be cooking. So that's how I think a decision was made when I moved that, this is the time to take that leap. And, after speaking with my brother about it, he decided he would definitely support me in doing that. So we pulled together our resources and we got our heads together and we came up with the entire concept of the Tart Lady and what that would look like. We knew that there was a demand for that product on the mainland because most people could not get it. We heard of a lot because we knew we had challenges. My brother always had challenges with getting tarts from the Virgin Islands to him. So I said we could be the supplier of tarts on the mainland. My tarts are representative of if you had a tart made by your grandmother or your great aunt many years ago, that was flavorful, was not light. When I say not light, I mean the crust. It's very authentic. I'm so proud to be an ambassador for the U.S. Virgin Islands and especially culinary arts. I believe that it's something that's so important to our culture for us to continue the traditions of how we prepare foods uniquely to the Virgin Islands. Because there are a lot of people who are not doing this anymore. And if people like me don't have the passion to make it continue on for many years to come, it would die. So I'm so happy to be a part of continuing the VI traditions.